All right. Just getting set up. Kind of a hectic day. We're about to start in less than a minute. Thank you all for joining. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Good evening, good day, good morning to you all. Man, what a hectic ass day. So I'm here. I'm glad we're doing the live show. It's been a few weeks. I am doing the first and third Wednesday of each month. So we kind of had an extra week in between there. But we're back. I got a new presentation, and I'm excited to deliver this. Let me check out the chat real quick. How's everyone doing? Good to see you guys in the chat. All right. We're live on the platforms, Instagram, Facebook. Actually, let me just do something real quick because I am not streaming live on my personal YouTube because I got a strike from talking about an important topic, and you know how they go. They're assholes. But Facebook makes my live shows private. So we're also on Twitch, and we're live on the One Great Work Network. Let's see here. Edit privacy. public. I don't know why it does that. That's fucking annoying. All right. Okay, cool. So this new presentation, let me pull up the cards real quick. Banner. Philosophia, which is the Greek pronunciation, the love of wisdom. Again, I'm live also on my website, willkeller.com. This is going to be an original presentation. I'm really liking the presentation styles. And then later on, we'll open it up for discussion. So I'll put the link in the chats if anyone wants to come up and, we'll dive into some of these topics or just kind of open up the discussion floor. Let me full screen this. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Add camera slot. Crazy day. Some of my settings got jacked up. There we go. All right. Got my overlay up. Very good. Very good. Philosophia. All right, let's dive into it real quick. Okay, so we're questing today. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go on a journey. We're questing with questions. This is where questions comes from, right? You're going on a quest. So welcome, fellow seekers of wisdom. Today we set sail on a thriving voyage into the heart of philosophy, a realm where questions are the compass and curiosity is the guiding star. Imagine philosophy as a grand tapestry of thought where each thread unravels the mysteries of existence, reason, and meaning. In this adventure, we'll navigate through the metaphysical landscapes, scale the heights of epistemology, and explore the ethical terrain that shapes our moral compass. Philosophy isn't just a subject, it's the dynamic force propelling us to question, reflect, and engage in the profound dialogue of human experience, of the human experience. Join me as we unlock the doors of perception, challenging assumptions, and revel in the beauty of contemplating the fundamental questions that define our very humanity. This is our philosophical quest. A journey that promises not just answers, but a deeper appreciation for the questions that make us truly alive. So, philosophy, I think, is this category. Well, number one, it's not taught in government indoctrination schooling. You don't really get to a course that kind of opens up until you're in the universities or the college level. And even then, it's highly manipulated. There's a lot of deception. Mainstream philosophy is highly infested with materialism, moral relativism, and relativism in general, right? So I absolutely make the delineation that there is esoteric philosophy and exoteric philosophy. What is the exoteric? It's what I just described. It's littered with materialism, and really it's been controlled for a very long time. Understanding some of the mainstream names of philosophers, especially in this day and age when you can just Google philosophers and quotes and all this shit. Most people don't even, go through the progression of seeing if these philosophers or great minds or anyone's actually said these quotes, right? So my point being is that when you get down into the esoteric, there are other kind of principles and rules that apply, something like introspection. It really does come down to your comprehension of fundamental first principles on how to operate. We are going to talk about the main categories of philosophy. I'm going to go into a kind of an esoteric category that is not really understood that well, maybe to this group that I'm, doing live presentations and my kind of crew of followers and people that follow my work, maybe, right? But again, my whole motto is simplify the profound. So each of these categories I'm going to kind of dissect a little bit, and we're going to talk about these. But understanding that philosophy it's a way of being. It's a mentation, a way that you view the world, a worldview as well. It's a tool, spiritual tool. And I think what most people think philosophy is, in the exoteric and in the mainstream, right, is highly, highly twisted, manipulated, and a lot of people are confused. So let's go on this quest. Let's see. Let me pull this up real quick. The beard's coming back, ladies and gentlemen. It's winter time. Winter is here. So let's start with the problem. And I'm going to use the philosophical allegory to state the problem, right? And most people have probably heard of this, the Plato's cave. So in book 7 of Plato's The Republic, he tells us about some people chained in a cave, forced to watch shadows across a stone wall. The group of prisoners have been living there in chains since their birth. They have never seen the outside world, only shadows of it. They have no knowledge of anything beyond the miserable lives in the cave. So Plato introduces this passage as an analogy of what it is like to be a philosopher trying to educate society. People are comfortable in their ignorance and hostile to anyone who tries to free them from it. The prisoners plotted and killed the one who escaped and went back to help them, just like the Athenians sentenced Socrates to death for trying to enlighten them. This is an allegory of the life of all enlightened and wise people who get rejected by ignorance when they try to enlighten others. For Plato, most of us live like the prisoners in the cave. The masses are stubborn and ignorant and dedicate their lives to pursue shadows instead of the real thing. The shadows can be interpreted as status, wealth, amongst other things, as opposed to wisdom and knowledge. The cave of illusion for delusion. So this is Plato's allegory of the cave, and this is like a brief summary of that, but this is what we have. My position today, my statement today is because the philosophical mind and philosophy is not tightly woven into our society from a young age as part of the growing and educational process, the majority of people, and many of them, will not be able to deal with adversity, problems in their life, and we will not be able to delineate the illusions and the deceptions that are going on in the world that are being propagated through the social engineers. The philosophical mind allows you to, number one, understand the nature of reality yourself, natural law, truth, to delineate from falsehood to facts and evidence, true discernment. The philosophical mind allows you to know oneself in and out and have the tools to progress and evolve in this life. Being anyone that's actually doing the one great work, that's speaking the truth and trying to educate the public, they are modern day philosophers as well as modern day freedom fighters and warriors, right? The philosopher is ingrained deep into the one that seeks wisdom and truth. What does that mean? This is what we're going to dive into today. Anyone knows that has tried to brought some type of education or truth to the public, friends and family, online. It's a brutal process. These are the people that are in the cave, that are comfortable in their folly and in their ignorance with the shadows in the cave, when reality is really all around them. They just need to ignite their willpower and walk their fucking asses out of the cave, so to say. So, one thing that's being propagated in philosophy, academia, the scientific communities, is relativism. That there is no such thing as truth, right? That truth is subjective. Well, I'm here to tell you that the truth matters. This is what philosophy does. Philosophy is seeking the truth. So what is truth? Truth is simply that which is. It is objective. It is that which has occurred in the past and is occurring in the present. The truth is not relative and is not based upon human perceptions. It is independent and can be discovered, understood, and our subjective perception can align with objective truth in reality. This is the prerequisite of seeking knowledge and wisdom. This is what the philosopher wants to achieve and become: wise. What does that mean? We're going to dive into what is wisdom, and what does it mean to truly be a wise human being? There are requirements, there are prerequisites, and there is an absolute meaning to that. So the truth is simple. It is that which has manifested in reality and is manifesting. Now, all through the philosophical categories, there is the distinction from objective, absolute truth, capital T, and what many call relative, lowercase t, truth. I use the truth, as the objective absolute means, meaning that which has manifested or is manifesting. The absolute ultimate truth is we exist in reality and there is laws that govern reality. Natural law, that is the truth. And how that interacts and how we interact with that and what manifests under these governing dynamics and laws, what manifests in reality is the truth. So we're not talking about, oh, I was happy yesterday, or I got in a car accident 2 days ago, which is correct. I did. I'm okay. But I did. I use the term correct because correct and right, they are based in the truth, in the manifested reality. So that's how I make the delineation. Was I happy yesterday? Correct. I was. It is based in truth. It's a fragment. It is not the truth. When someone says, oh, this is my truth, this is her truth, your truth, what they are talking about is a fragment of information, of knowledge that could be true. It could be part of the truth. It is not the truth, though, right? We can come to understand the truth in society, what is going on in the world. Absolutely, 100%. The image, it's a great image to kind of depict what the truth is. The truth being a straight line, that which has manifested and is manifesting going forward, right, is the straight line. The wave form is our perception, how we are perceiving the world. And you can see that in the upper waveform, it is more frequently hitting the truth. So you are in a higher frequency. Your perception is in a higher frequency to that which is the truth. And then you have the middle and then the lower one where you are in low frequency. The frequency level of perception in correspondence to the manifested reality. What has manifested and what is going on. So philosophy is constantly trying to synthesize and distill their perception to the truth in nature, in the natural world. This is what the philosopher is seeking. And through this great work, the magnum opus, which means great work, they can become wise. And we'll dive more into that. So let's start off with definition, right? Definition means clarity of meaning. Taking infinite possibilities and meaning and bringing it down to the finite for higher definition. What is philosophy? Sorry, didn't have my slides on. Had my slides on for me, but not you guys. Here we go. What is philosophy? So it comes from the Greek philo, which means loving, and plus sophia, which is knowledge or wisdom. Philosophy is the systematic inquiry into fundamental questions about existence, knowledge, values, reason, mind, and language. It explores concepts such as truth, reality, morality, and the nature of consciousness through critical analysis, rational augmentation, and contemplation. Philosophy has 6 major categories with an esoteric 7th category. And we're going to dive into these. So this is a general definition of philosophy, Philosophia. And the first category that we're going to dive into, this is the first category and the most important. They're all important, but this one is the foundation by which all the other categories are built upon. So in esoteric philosophy, it's been kind of the analogy is of a home, a house, right? The philosopher is building his home. His home is oneself, their perception, their knowledge base, and how they live within the house, which is equating to wisdom, which we will dive into. So this is the foundation, and that is one that is very much overseen, not talked about, and misunderstood, especially in modern academia and the scientific fields and the educational system. They avoid this 100% in some cases, and that is metaphysics. Oops, full slide. My throat's a little dry today, folks, so I'm going to be kind of sipping on my soursop leaf tea. Now, the foundational category is metaphysics. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that explores fundamental questions about the nature of reality, existence, and being. It delves into inquiries beyond the physical realm, such as the nature of reality, the existence of abstract entities, the nature of space and time, causality, identity, and the relationship between mind and body. Metaphysics seeks to understand the underlying principles and structures that govern the universe and our place within it. Metaphysics, the word metaphysics, you have meta and physics. Meta means beyond. Physics means the physical, the material. So we are talking about the unseen realm. The metaphysical realm in philosophy is noticed and identified as the unseen causal realm. This is the fundamental, foundational category for philosophy and for reality. Because we know that that consciousness and energy, this is the metaphysical realm. The universe is mental, is mind, and by mentation, that is energy. This is the substrate that comprises the whole universe. So metaphysics includes the following departments of learning: the nature of being, the nature of God, source, the all, the nature of truth, the nature of energy, the nature of creation, the nature of divine and human relationships. So the metaphysical realm, also the causal realm, this is where all cause to all events and everything in reality starts from. It starts from the unseen realm. In the picture, I have the Hermetic principles. You know, Hermeticism, which many of the mystery traditions and the philosophical societies and groups, you know, they pull their information from the ancient Cometian traditions and Hermeticism. And this is the Hermetic principles, also known as the natural law principles, right? I don't have the names on there, just images. Let's talk about them. So at the top, going left to right, we have mentalism, stating the all is mind. The universe is mental. Next one over is the law of correspondence. As above, so below, as within, so without. And as below, so above. And as without, so within. That is referring to the holographic nature of reality, of consciousness. Moving over, we have vibration. Everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. This is one of the effects of mentalism and mentation, energy. Then we have polarity. This is, in this manifested physical realm, we have duality, perceived duality, right? Night and day, hot and cold. Well, polarity explains that there are two poles of the same thing. So at what point does cold become hot or hot become cold? There's no distinction, right? So it's two poles of the same thing. If you have a quarter and you have heads on one side and tails on the other, this seems like it's duality. They're two different sides, but yet it's all one thing. It's the silver quarter. Moving on, we have rhythm. Everything is in cycles. Everything moves in rhythm, and it's secular by nature. Moving on, we have cause and effect. Every cause has an effect. Every effect has its cause. And then the next one over is gender, which this is an extension of polarity. This is mental gender. Of course, We're talking about the metaphysical realm. In the physical domain, absolutely, you have male and female. This is the manifestation, the embodiment of masculine and feminine. But we also have mental characteristics. These are attributes of energy, which can be seen as masculine or feminine characteristics that we all have. This is not to say biological gender is both. Absolutely not. That's the manifested aspect of nature that we are living in. So this is the body of metaphysics. And why this is so important, because this is natural law. This is the governing universal laws that are immutable and binding to us all. So of course you want to know this. This is the foundation for sure. Now again, each of these points here on the left, I could do a whole presentation on this, and absolutely I will in the future. The nature of being, the nature of the all source, the nature of truth, energy, creation, divinity, human relation. But these are the aspects, the categories in the department of metaphysics when applied to the philosophical realm. So the next department that we have is logic. Logic is the systematic study of valid reasoning and inference. It deals with the principles and rules governing the validity of arguments and the proper use of language in reasoning. Logic aims to distinguish between valid and invalid forms of reasoning, helping to ensure that conclusions drawn from premises are sound and reliable. It encompasses various branches, including formal logic, informal logic, symbolic logic, and mathematical logic. This is the rule of reason. We are endowed with higher order thinking that allows us to utilize our capacity as a human being to use high-level logic and reasoning. This is a main factor that separates us from our animalistic counterparts. And in the realm of logic, there are three categories. The tools or instruments of logic, according to Aristotle, and the first masters of science, are analogy, induction, and deduction. These philosophical instruments are of the greatest antiquity and, and are the original footings of the house of learning. So I'll describe these and give some examples with them as well. These are all extremely useful, not only in the philosophical realm, but to reason out and to use in accordance with the trivium method of truth discovery. So as an animist, a pagan animist, I am using these three all the time. Let's talk about them. So we have analogy. The form of inference which arises from the comparison of equals or of two particulars of similar, important, or magnitude. The Hermetic traditions of the Egyptians are exceedingly rich in examples of, excuse me. Let me take a sip for a second, guys and gals. Of analogical inference. So the analogy, we can see this at, I just said one earlier, in Plato's cave. That is an analogy. We can see analogies all in the cultural religions, the mystery traditions. We can see when you have similar concepts or events, these have certain characteristics that have representation and have a symbolic means to them that we can decode. For instance, the sun and the moon. There's certain aspects of the sun and the moon that we can apply to ourselves. Meaning the sun is active. That's a masculine principle. It gives life. It is representative of the soul. We can see this go into the cultural religions with the story of Jesus, representing the sun, and it's traveling through the constellations, the zodiacs, the 12 zodiacs, the 12 disciples, right? Analogy. Also allegories. Then we have induction. So that form of inference which ascends from inferiors to superiors, or which moves from particulars to universals. Example, from personality to principle. When we think about order followers, and we are trying to delineate and use logic to see if they are moral in their action, we need to apply induction to separate the personality to the principle and see if there is a contradiction or there is a cohesion applied there. Now, deduction descends from superiors to inferiors, or from generals to particulars. For example, from infinite to the finite. So when I make a statement like, the all is mine, the universe is mental, how does that apply to individuals, or how does that apply to society? So these are three kind of lost categories that aren't talked about from the realm of logic. Very powerful, very deep. And we're going to move on to the next category of philosophy. Got it. Morality and ethics. This is a big part of philosophy, of course, as it should be. Morality is a code of relationships. It is the part of philosophy that understands the importance of one person's actions upon another person. Ethics is the art of character. Understanding the internal virtues can develop outward to moral right action, meaning that ethics are internal characteristics. Ultimately, pursuing internal ethics and pursuing ethics in oneself will evolve an individual to become a more moral, or to become moral individual. If one has plagued themselves with lies, a lack of honesty, integrity, trust, this is going to have an effect on the individual, and absolutely it's going to have an effect on their outward external behavior towards others, to morality. So all action is a means toward an end. When right moral action accomplishes the end, then we pass from the state of effort to the state of reward. Immanuel Kant stated that. And this is a big portion of my work, absolutely, that we need to understand objective morality and the objective standard in the world on how we relate and respond and interact with other beings and other humans. All nature is about relationships. Your relationship to philosophy, your relationship to the truth, your relationship to knowledge, to your loved ones, to your children, to one another, to freedom. Ethics and morality. This is the finite aspects of diving into the detail into one's own character, who you are as a human being and how you operate. This is on the mental and the emotional, the energetic level as well. So the internal ecology, obviously, as within, so without, has a huge effect on how you operate in the world towards others. If you are going to be a moral human being and you do not initiate harm onto another person, or you're going to take incorrect actions and you are going to be plagued with immorality. And that goes for condoning and supporting immoral actions and behaviors. So this is a huge part of philosophy. Moving on, we have psychology. Psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. It encompasses a wide range of topics, including cognition, emotion, perception, motivation, personality, development, social interactions, and mental health. Psychologists use various methods, such as experiments, surveys, and clinical observations, to understand and explain how individuals think, feel, and behave. Psychology also includes applied areas such as clinical psychology, counseling psychology, educational psychology, and organizational psychology, which aim to address practical issues and improve human well-being. Now, psychology in the ancient traditions, it was defined as the science of the soul and mind. Modern psychology is pretty much defined as the science of the mind. Interesting how they take the soul out of there, right? Mainstream psychology, again, is very materialistic, meaning that matter is prime. Now, they take, for the most part, it does not take objective morality into considerations or applied within psychology. It does not take even the esoteric logical modalities, and it definitely doesn't take the metaphysical realm. Now, sure, it dwells into the archetypal, absolutely, which is part of the metaphysical. But getting down to the cause, in the mainstream psychological realms, the takeaway of natural law and universal laws is not there whatsoever. Most of mainstream psychology is just based on the brain functions and emotions, right? Emotion meaning energy in motion, but to mainstream psychology, that would be more like chemical deposits in the body and in the brain. So, of course, psychology is absolutely vital to understand why we do what we do, how we act the way that we act. Carl Jung, absolutely one of the greatest psychologists, and understanding that he was into esotericism and occultism, right? Alchemy is the source by which psychology is derived from. Same with chemistry. Alchemy is twofold. The alchemical processes working with the elements and compounds formed chemistry, modern day chemistry. The metaphysical alchemy formed what we know now as psychology. This is diving into the metaphysical realm and the characteristics of energies and the unconscious, which is the automatic mind, and the conscious, which is the the conscious mind is the manual mind, and the unconscious mind is the automatic mind. So when we look at what is going on in the world and we're trying to spread a certain type of message, and we can see that the majority of people in the world are not in a receptive state to certain types of information, right? They are just emotionally reactive. Their habits are not in alignment with truth and with objective morality and nature. They most of the time are doing this unconsciously. Understanding psychology will give you great insight into your own internal ecology, your own internal mental landscape, but also how human beings operate in general. So getting a message out really gives you the psychological toolkit on how you can express certain knowledge. And then moving on, we have epistemology. Epistemology is the branch of philosophy concerned with the nature, scope, and limitations of knowledge. It explores questions such as, what is knowledge? How is knowledge acquired? What are the criteria for knowledge? It delves into the theories of justification, belief, skepticism, and the relationship between belief and truth. Epistemology distinguishes between belief and truth. Epistemology distinguishes between absolute truth and relative truth, and to examine the validity of the premises upon which the assumption of knowledge is based. So we're talking about the nature of gnosis or dogma. This goes very well with psychology, logic, and all the other categories as well. In the mainstream arenas of philosophy, truth is unknowable. You cannot know things. They're all fragmentations of perception of an individual. In the mystery traditions, knowledge, gnosis, was absolutely distinguished from dogma and belief. Knowledge and gnosis were fragments of truth, information that was based in truth that the philosopher is gathering for a clearer picture. That's what knowledge is. Knowledge is gnosis. So when we're talking about what is going on in the world, we need to do a diagnosis by way of knowledge. So this is epistemology. And again, I mean, you can do hours on each one of these categories. I want to do a general overview on these categories for people, because I think just the basic lack of knowledge of what philosophy is missing. Most people use philosophy as, oh, what's your philosophy? Oh, my philosophy is this. Her philosophy is that. Without even understanding kind of what that means. So epistemology also you can add in here with definitions and words and etymology, which to a philosopher, this is absolute gold. I mean, you must have correct definitions when you are gathering information, 100%. And words have meaning. Sure, they could change and pivot throughout time, but they have an original vibration of energy, meaning they have an original meaning, how they were used. That's what etymology is. Etymology means the origin of a word, a vibration. You can look at words as energy. Spelling, casting spells. So this is also part of epistemology. And then aesthetics. Aesthetics can be spelled with an A or just an E. Aesthetics is the sixth department of philosophy and may be defined as that branch of learning which is devoted to an examination of the substance of the beautiful and the effect of beauty upon the spiritual, intellectual, and moral life of man. Aesthetics are considered standards of symmetry and proportion, relations of value and form, and the harmony of quality, sound, color, and such other media and phenomena, I should say. as are appropriate to interpretation of beauty. Beauty is the true being which animates all living creatures. It is the dynamic pattern, the aesthetic framework by which the world is supported. So I put patterns of beauty. And the image, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty itself is one of those things where it's both objective and subjective. Of course, we all have our own personal preferences towards beauty. But there are objective patterns, proportions, and ratios in nature. This is what nature is. This is how nature manifests. This is the beauty of nature. You could say it's how the source, the all, God paints the paintbrush, right? It manifests in pressure mediation, ratios. This is what the golden ratio is, the Fibonacci sequence, the toroidal field. So we can see these correlations and correspondence all through nature and within ourselves, right? This is the effect of a cause. If you have principle and attribute, principle would be the animating force or God or source, the all. And the effect would be the manifestation, creator, creation. And that creation is the framework for beauty. Aesthetics is one of those categories when people are having a hard time understanding that nature is a superior force, that we are not separate from nature. The correlations to our divine meaning and being in the world, in this reality. And how does that correlate with the natural world and nature? It's in the aesthetics. It's in the patterns, the symmetry, the proportions, the harmony. If you look at nature and you can observe the symbiotic effect on how plant life, the biosphere, nature herself, how it operates, that there is a dance and a rhythm to everything. Everything has its rhyme and reason and purpose. It's beautiful. This is what being in harmony with nature is. If you look, I mean, on a micro scale, an ecosystem. So this is the framework of aesthetics. Patterns of the beauty. And moving on to, this is the esoteric seventh department of philosophy. That is not in the exoteric for people to talk about. It's not being educated. This is very much in a certain category that I'm going to get into next. This is very much a part of it, right? Theurgy. So theurgy is a spiritual practice or ritual aimed at invoking the presence of divine forces or deities in order to achieve spiritual transformation or union with the divine. It often invokes rituals, ceremonies, prayers, and other mystical practices intended to facilitate communion with higher realms or spiritual beings. Theurgy has roots in various religions and mystical traditions, including Neoplatonism, Hermeticism, and certain forms of ancient Greek and Egyptian religion. Wisdom brings the human mind gradually up to truth. It also reveals the laws which govern truth. for truth is perfect motion in the universe. So that might be a lot. That definition that I made, it kind of can, you can take that into the woo realm. Let me simplify this. Theurgy is spirituality. Theurgy is wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge applied. Wisdom is action. Being spiritual is action. It's an active state. You have spirit and ritual here. What is a ritual? Well, ritual is synonymous to habits. The same thing, your daily morning ritual, what you do on a consistent basis. But applying spirit and wisdom to that, it means that you are applying the knowledge that you have learned and have come to understand in alignment with truth and natural law, and you are applying that to your behavior, to your very essence in the real world. This is what theurgy is. So theurgy is a practice. All the other categories of philosophy are internal modalities of thinking and observing and contemplation and introspection. Theurgy is the last category, and it is action. It is acting on what you come to know, putting it into practice. So there is, like I said, there's a category that very much has all of the philosophical categories and has an emphasis on theurgy as well, and that is occultism. Now, occultism, the word occult simply means, it comes from occultare. That's the etymology. It means the eye, oculus. So occultism is hidden from sight. Occultism simply is the hidden knowledge of nature. There we go. Occultism is the study of the hidden laws of nature, specifically those laws which are at work in the invisible, mental, spiritual domain, far more than those at work in the visible, physical world. Therefore, occultism involves the acceptance of a much wider world view than that which is ordinarily taken by the everyday person. Occultists, then, may be defined as those who study all the laws of nature, both those that are readily seen and those which are much more difficult to see with the eyes or measuring instruments alone. This is the realm of the esoteric. All of these philosophical categories are all very much rooted in occultism. Again, occultism is simply hidden knowledge. It's the knowledge that the majority of people do not know. This is the knowledge that all the cultural religions, the government institutions, the social engineering, all the distractions, the misdirection is trying to obfuscate and keep you away from. Because in this arena, this category of occultism, you can discover the truth. And they do not want people to venture onto this path. So, theurgy is very much into occultism. You have theory and practice. knowledge and wisdom. So the knowledge of natural law, metaphysics, very much a core source of occultism. Now, why is all of this important? Okay, we dove into the philosophical categories. Where am I going with this, right? Why is this stuff important? Because we need to understand. Oops. There's only two ways to create change in this reality. Okay, we have the twin pillars of change. There's only two ways. The first, philosophy, the love of wisdom, which is the internal modality of asking questions and using logic and reason to acquire knowledge for a deeper understanding. It's an internal process with all of these categories that I've listed today in this presentation. And then once you come to understand, you can implement it into the world externally. And we do this with technology. So technology is the external pillar for change. So technology is skill or craft in work. It's a tool. That can be anything. That can be a chair, a fork, a computer, a microphone. So it's the external modality of manifesting a solution by way of art, skill, or craft in use. So if we say there is a problem in the world, we can utilize philosophy to come to have a correct diagnosis and perception of what that problem is and what we need to do to implement a solution. And then we use technology to manifest change in accordance with that solution. So these ultimately, it's the only two ways to create change. This can be on all scales. If I'm tired of sitting on a tree stump, it starts in the mind. The thought starts in the mind, and I use a process of introspection and contemplation, and I can create a chair, and then I can make it in the real world. That's a crude, simplistic example of the two pillars of change. To understand the nature of reality and what is going on in society, to align our perception to that which is, to the truth, we need to become the philosopher. We need to dive deeply into these categories that I've talked about today. The categories, departments of philosophy. We need to set onto the path of seeking the hidden knowledge that has been occulted from humanity for eons, millennia, which is all available now as I speak. We need to journey that path, which is arduous, time-consuming at some points. The beautiful thing is that someone like myself or many other great minds in history, some of the great philosophers, some of the great occultists, and some of the active one great workers, such as Mark Passio, can synthesize information and use technology to express condensed information that you yourself, as the viewer or listener, can take that information in and it can set you onto the path. Meaning that we do not need to read the oldest books in history to have basic understandings of metaphysics, logic, reason, morality, natural law. There are modes and modalities available to us all around us right now because of technology. And we need to utilize that. So these are the twin pillars of change. This is how we create change. It always starts internally and it moves to external. So, as we journey to become the philosopher, we need to understand the trivium process of truth discovery. So, Socrates said, there is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. And I absolutely agree with that. Because knowledge, like I said earlier, and this is how the ancient philosophers saw knowledge, right? Knowledge, remember, there was a difference between knowledge and dogma, very much. Dogma was bullshit. They knew it. Knowledge was a fragmented piece of information from truth. So, knowledge will grant us the insight to become better human beings, to become moral. And of course, ignorance without that knowledge is going to lead to incorrect thoughts and actions. So what is the trivium process? The trivium, we have knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, or grammar, logic, and rhetoric, or the modern variation, input, information, process that information, output in behavior. So number one, knowledge. Knowledge is the accumulation of truth, right? We're accumulating the fragments, the pieces of truth. We're gathering the what. Number two is understanding. Understanding is the assimilation of truth. This is the why. We are processing this. And number three, wisdom. Wisdom is the application of truth. Knowledge applied. And this is the how. How it was done. How am I doing it? So these are the prerequisites of wisdom: knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So diving a little bit more deeper into the trivium method of truth discovery, which is the three roads to truth. Grammar is the method gathering definitions and raw factual data into a coherent body of knowledge. Like I said, getting all the pieces, the raw data, the information from an eclectic array of sources. Then we use logic to gain a working understanding by systematically eliminating all discoverable contradictions within it. So we use the processes of analogy, induction, deduction to discover contradictions, to sum it down. And then we use the rhetoric to wisely express, implement, leverage, and utilize that valid knowledge and cognate understanding of the world and to the world. Express it to the world. So this is the trivium method. And also, this was, I believe this was Socrates that had the three sieves. Okay, and this is a process to be used, to be applied to information if it is worth sharing or looking into. Mainly sharing. So keep this in mind. right? These are the three filters. Number one, is the information true? Is it based on facts? Has the trivium method of truth discovery been applied to it? First and foremost. The second one is it moral? So what is the intention behind the message? To create fear, to manipulate for immoral behavior, or to create moral right action for evolution and freedom? And the third filter is the information useful in the natural world? Does it solve a problem or address a valid issue? Can it be used for progress towards self-development or external freedom? So this is the filter test of information to share and to pursue, right? I'm not doing videos. My work is not, pranking my brother or talking about, cats and cat videos. Cat videos are, they're entertaining. But we're talking about powerful, truthful, moral, useful information on the condition and the state of the world, right? So this is the filter test that can be used when sharing information. So we need to seek truth by becoming the philosopher, and then we need to speak truth, right? Philosophy, technology. Philosophy is part of the great work, the internal process of working with the aspects of consciousness and natural law for self-discovery and self-mastery. Seeking the mystery of oneself in nature. The great work is an ancient phrase that very much is philosophy, is these philosophical categories, to dissect and achieve what was called the philosopher's stone, aligning our perception, aligning our actions to truth, to more morality, objective morality, and to natural law, to achieve symbiosis and harmonious states of being in the world. So, of course, that comes first, doing that internal work. In this modern age, what does that entail? That entails looking in the mirror and writing down, understanding what do you believe and why do you believe it. Go through these categories of philosophy, research them, step onto the path of discovery. Understanding the belief in human authority is illegitimate, and that belief is the sole mind virus for self-induced human suffering on the planet that the majority of people are participating in. That's what the internal great work, these categories of philosophy are aids, and they can assist in this process that is ongoing. Okay? So again, that is the first one. Then the one great work is service to truth by acting in the external world to influence change towards symbiosis and freedom. Understanding the universal life force that connects all as one. What you do in this life echoes in eternity, like the Gladiator quote from Russell Crowe. No, but I'm serious. What you do has an impact on your environment, your children, your friends, the ether, the biosphere. It's the energy, the contributing energy. We can look at the hierarchy of service. At the bottom, it says service to self, which is the egoic, self-serving mentality where most of society is in. All about me, 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 me. Where moral relativism is predominant. Then moving up, you have service to others. And then moving up, you have service to truth. There is a light and a dark to these lower portions, to the service to self and service to others. Self-preservation is part of service to self, but that self is capital S. Talking about your well-being, your holistic health, taking care of yourself. Absolutely, that is important and needed. But when you are doing your lower will, your egoic self, and that's all your dark care, time, attention, and focus is going to, and fuck everyone else, fuck truth, morality, freedom, then absolutely you are in the involutionary force of decay and slavery, which the majority of people are in. And then, of course, at the top is service to truth, which is where the least amount of people are. But in serving truth, you serve both the self and others, because truth is only ever of benefit to all. Ain't that the truth? The truth is only ever of benefit to all. Not just human beings, animals to plants, the planet, the consciousness of the planet itself. We are all together, united, and connected. So this is what service to truth is. Oops. So the solution is, it starts with becoming the seeker. The seeker archetype is the hermit in the tarot tradition. It could also be looked at as the fool. The fool is at that crossroad where he or she could become the seeker by stepping onto the path or not stepping onto the path. Whereas where a majority of people are, they're stuck in the cave, comfortable with the shadows on the wall. We need to take that first step, and that first step is becoming the seeker, stepping onto the path. And that path is philosophical in nature. It is these categories that we dove in today. Having a foundational understanding and knowledge within all of these categories today. And then applying it to the world, because that is wisdom. To become wise means you are acting morally in right action. And you are striving for symbiosis to truth. That's what it means to be wise. The quote says, "You cannot solve any problem from the same level of consciousness that created the problem." The desire to know is the spark that will ignite the journey towards towards wisdom, and freedom. If true care for knowledge is absent, the path will never be seen. So what's this referring to is that awareness reveals choice. Meaning we will never, in the aggregate for the human species, we will never attain true freedom and harmony. Being stuck in the cave, being stuck at the same level of consciousness that created the problem. Individuals need to become the seeker, the philosopher, and dive into the realms of nature, the metaphysical realms, to discover the problem. The solution is always within understanding the problem itself. And this is what we need. This is the first step of the journey, is becoming the philosopher, becoming the seeker. Because once you take in true knowledge, the fragments of truth, we can apply that. You are going to gain a higher awareness, a higher frequency to truth that will allow you and all of us as a human family to step out of this condition of duress, violence, and slavery and step onto the direction of evolution towards freedom and harmony with nature. Philosophia, the love of wisdom. It starts with the desire. Desire is a spark that potential is always there, but it needs to be sparked. And that will trigger care. So what do you care about? What are you caring about on a day-to-day basis? So this is what we need to do. We need to spark that journey up that ever-growing mountain of self-discovery and self-mastery to become the philosopher. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my presentation for this evening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Solo. There we go. I hope you guys gained value on that. And I'm going to pull up these comments. A lot of comments. So, I kind of just dish out the presentation and then I go and look at the comments. So if you guys have questions, let me try to scroll through these to see. Give some shout outs. Voluntary D. Occultist, what's up? Princess Richie, Fred. Hi, Patty. Mandatory myocarditis, what's up, my brother? Marius, how's it going? Logan Hart, my brother of the Wizard Factory, what's going on? Roast Mount over on Twitch, what's up? Good seeing you. Jana. Hello. Sophie, good seeing you. Jacob. Jack Money, Amanda Lee, Kath. Creators on the Crest. Excellent. A lot of people joined today. Thank you all. Julia Starr, Insight. Just did a podcast with her recently. Came out fantastic. You guys go check it out. All right, let me put this link in here. Anybody wants to come up on here? We'll have open discussion. All I ask, anything is open, is free to touch on. Let's touch on this presentation and these topics. We just be respectful, and let me put this link in here, and then I'm gonna play a song by the Funky Father, 6 Strings of Liberty, and I'm gonna go take a wiki leak real quick. I appreciate you all that are tuned in tonight. We got quite a few people. I'm loving it. Okay, link to join. Let me put this in here. And if I'm using StreamYard, I can have a certain amount of people. So if I see more people wanting to join in, we'll just rotate people, right? So, all right. Let me throw a quick track on. You guys give me just 2 minutes. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and we'll see if anybody hops onto the open discussion.
reading about my struggles in life. Oh, wanna buy land, buy sea.
Funky Fathers.
Well, put your poison in a pill. May maim and injure, make you ill. Oh, now and then it's gonna kill. Experiments against the will. Yeah, why won't you just remain in silence? Yeah, why won't you just bow down in compliance? Yeah, every year they're adding more. In every shop, in every store. Or violate you at the core. Yeah, this intact they say endure. Yeah, why won't you just remain in silence? Yeah, why won't you just bow down in compliance? Yeah, why won't you give in to threats of violence? Yeah, why won't you just believe in the science? 'Cause I'm anti-intimidation, anti-dehumanization, anti-indoctrination, anti-sterilization, anti-segregation, anti-discrimination, anti-force injection. That's why I'm anti-vaccination. Coercion is weapon of choice. When that don't work, they bring in force. Or silence our dissenting voice. Or separate you from the source. Yeah, why won't you just remain in silence? Yeah, why won't you just bow down in compliance? Yeah, why won't you give in to threats of violence? Yeah, why don't you just believe in the science? Because I'm anti-intimidation, anti-dehumanization, anti-indoctrination, anti-sterilization, anti-segregation, anti-discrimination, anti-force injection. That's why I'm anti-vaccination.
That's right. All right.
Yeah, I'm
we back.
anti-intimidation, anti-dehumanization, anti-indoctrination, anti-sterilization, anti-segregation, anti-discrimination, anti-forced injection. That's why I'm anti-vaccination.
That's Mike Mattingly, the Funky Father, one of his awesome freedom loving songs. I got my brother in the back. Let's bring him on. And let me make sure. Yep, the stream's in there. It's in there. Is it on Instagram? Let me put it one more time in Instagram. Yep. All right. Here we go. What's up, my brother?
Hello, hello.
How's it
Excellent.
going, man?
Excellent presentation, man. Loved it.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate
Going
that.
good. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, give me your thoughts on the presentation, and then give me your thoughts on philosophy, the topic, and its importance to the world.
Oh yeah.
To an individual.
All of the above. I mean, this is something that's so missing from our basic education, right? Being raised as human beings in the world, and we're not giving the basic mental tools for navigating and discovering truth, which is like the primary purpose of humans in this, physical and spiritual experience that we're having. So I think it's such a vital topic that many people are just blatantly missing, oftentimes not to their own fault, but just the total lack of or a failure on the parental and the school side of things, I would say. I actually took some basic philosophy in college, at my community college, and I loved it because it was, like I've always kind of thought of myself as a philosopher, which it's funny if you think about something like that in this day and age, someone just calling themselves a philosopher, that sounds so pretentious. Like, oh, who do you think you are? Your ideas are so important. You're a philosopher, right? But no, we're all philosophers. And that's, just kind of highlighting the issue is that being a thinker is seen as like something some fringy people do over here, and isn't just an integral part of being a damn human being.
100%, man. 100%. It's weird because like philosophy has this stigma of like coffee shop.
Pretentious, like wine sniffers.
Exactly. And young children are philosophers at a young age. This is the why stage, right? This is what they're doing. They're asking why. They're so curious. Curiosity is the foundation of philosophy, right? I mean, that's part of the desire to know. Even in ancient times, I think the farmers were some of the first philosophers, right? To understand how to grow food, and to farm, you need to have a basic understanding of nature. So, I mean, this takes some of that contemplation and introspection. I mean, philosophy, in my opinion, Aristotle is the one that used the word philosophy, supposedly, for the love of wisdom. He kind of coined that term. But what that represents, this process of introspection and contemplation, has been around since men have drawn breath.
Yeah. I mean, what else was there to do?
But to think.
And be a part of nature. Like you mentioned, the farmer, that's that's like one of the most human archetypes, ancient human archetypes, is the farmer, because that's what every person kind of had to do just to survive. It was like, of course, how to grow food. It's like tying your own shoes. You know what I mean? Like, and with that comes a deep understanding of the cycles of nature, and then observing natural law through those processes. Of course, there's you can't avoid the philosophy in that, and then, like, if you read a farmer's almanac, it's almost like a philosophy book, right?
Dude, that's such a great point, man. And I love those books. That's like my go-to, like getting ready for the season. Let me go get that farmer's almanac. Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it, man. It's so, and again, also for the viewers as well, a lot of great comments. I appreciate them all. You guys can, if you have questions, go ahead and put those in. There's so many comments, it's hard to kind of pay attention and also scroll up. So you could put any questions that you have for me or Logan or both of us. And I think, let me see. Let me post this too. So yeah, I know. I mean, philosophy is a big part of your work too, Logan. And there's the categories that I dove on today. These are like, the general categories that we really need to consider when stepping onto the path of philosophy. A lot of these categories bleed over into each other. And once you kind of have almost a foundational understanding of what they are, then the philosophical mind utilizes all of these categories simultaneously when we're thinking about certain either events or just things about life or what's going on in reality. We're not like dissecting them. Okay, this is going to go in that category. They all bleed into each other, and you can utilize all of these, which I would say, I mean, there's even more categories as well. You and I both being animists, I mean, these categories go very well with animism. And I think philosophy, organized philosophy, even with the Greeks, it comes from pagan animism, since most of them were pagans anyways to begin with, because you're understanding what they call deities or what are the forces of nature. So you're having that direct observation and experience, and it really goes hand in hand. So, I mean, who knows where the philosophical mind, where it could take us for the species of humanity. But that is the path that we need to be on. It's just with the allegory of, Plato's cave, it's getting people to even consider, like I ended with the desire. Most people don't have that desire to care or know when you try to communicate something deep to them. It's tough even nowadays having shallow conversations with people, right? Because it's just like there's no substance there, like football, baseball, like sports. It's just so. Yeah, that's what I wanted to rant on.
No, I love it, man. It's just, again, it's just such an important topic. It's just striking me right now how it's a testament to what a mind job the social engineers have done on us, that philosophy is like this thing that is, it's like this topic that is, and most people have no interest in it, but it's something so just intrinsic to everything. It's like, and this goes hand in hand with natural law as well, because when anyone opens their mouth to speak and they say something, they're speaking, like if it's a statement of some kind, it's a declaration of truth. They don't think of it that way. And it's like, and then like, if you simply ask the question to what they just said, why? Because a law dictates that, right? Just take an easy one. If you play with the fire, you're going to get burned. That's like one of these kind of cliche truisms. And it's like, but what does that mean? What are the implications of that? How is this universally applicable? Because if it's not, it's just something just kind of like somebody just pulled out of a hat or something. It's almost kind of hard to put into words what I'm trying to say, but I'm just trying to stress how pervasive philosophy is to every single thing we do at all times. And yet when you bring up the word philosophy, it's just kind of this way over here thing, and most people aren't interested in it. It's for like deep thinkers and nerds and stuff like that, and that disparity is what I'm highlighting, is how separated we've become from the spiritual experience and the natural process of cause and effect and the learning that comes with those experiences.
Dude, yeah, you nailed it, man. How far we're detached from the human experience, what the human experience supposed to be. I mean, free thinking in general. Most people don't want to do that shit. That's way out of their pay grade. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, these bodies of information, and even conveying a message for anyone that's, going public. I mean, having it be relatable is important as well. This kind of goes to, there's nothing better than a prepared messenger than a prepared message, meaning that your comprehension and how you express it, there's certain modalities and functions that you can use. Having it be useful in the world and applicable in reality is extremely important. So yeah, man, it's
if it's not useful, then what good is it? Literally, like, I hear people say things often online. It's like they're trying to sound smart or kind of like mystical or something, but it's like, but what you're saying, like, you can't use that. You can't apply that in life. So what good is it? You know what I mean?
exactly 100%, man.
So
I
yeah,
agree,
that
Jana.
three
Thinkers are the
sieves
best.
that three sieves concept is so good because so many things that get shared literally on Facebook and social media doesn't pass any of them, or maybe one of those, let alone all three. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Let's bring Fred. What's up, brother? Bring you into the chat.
What's up, Fred?
I think you're on
You're
mute.
muted.
Hey,
There
hear
you
me
go.
now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Will, for having me once again. I think that your presentation was fucking awesome.
It was
There
very
was a lot
powerful.
of I liked the way you covered the basis for philosophy and things like that, and it's very important to understand these principles and having conversation just like that with other people and talking about the true things the true things that I mean we're submerged into this reality that is filled with information and stimuli and things like that. So what I want to say and add is we really need to focus when you get into this information. We cannot get distracted from other worthless uh, uh, false knowledge and half truths between that, because there's a lot of that for some reasons. So it's very important to use discernment and stay rooted when I talk about ideologies and philosophy, and stay rooted in the ground and not getting like drowned into your own problems. Most people have little flaws, little problems in their lives, and sure, we can like maybe go a little our path is a little crooked sometime, can be crooked, and we are tested in our philosophy and our principles. But the thing is, we're humans, so we're here for that. We're here and the thing is that influence a lot of that is our own experience as humans. So you can have a discussion about philosophy with 5 different person, and you'll have 5 different approach about that, and that's the thing that it's awesome when you have this conversation and entertaining ideas and having debates and arguments. I think they're
That's
very healthy and they're necessary.
that's a very good point, because just to tie that in with what I was just saying, with how philosophy is this fringy thing most people aren't interested in, and yet you're saying, every human being brings something unique. So just imagine what the world would be like if everyone's consciousness was fully online and thinking and imagining new ways of the world and new ways of discovering truth. And I mean, things would be so radically different for the better, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's a really good point. We need more philosophical discussions, right? I think whenever I mean, it's not often, but when I tune into a philosophy debate or discussion, it's pretty brutal to watch, right? I mean, again, I put the emphasis on materialism and atomists, and just these worldviews that are lacking some of these prime categories like metaphysics,
Metaphysics.
that are fundamental to philosophy. So watching some of these discussions like online and stuff, it's just extremely brutal. It's just a butting of egos, really. When, I mean, like you said, like the philosophical circle where everyone, number one, has a firm understanding of natural law, the governing dynamics of reality, and then adding their own perspective and own bits of knowledge and gnosis to it. I mean, that would be a beautiful thing. So,
Yeah, consider, these several materialists, and they're sitting there having some kind of debate about philosophy. And it's like, how can you even presume to have a meaningful discussion about philosophy, and at the same time in your own philosophy you negate metaphysics, which is the realm where philosophy comes from, the governing dynamics that cannot be seen or measured, but the effects can be observed everywhere. This is one of these big glaring things that I've really been kind of like noticing more and more, and like a realization, because it's sort of like the pulling back of the veil, because there's just so many layers of mind control, to this point of how isolated and separated philosophy has become, and the absolute pervasiveness of natural law. It blows the more I'm like uncovering this, the more it blows my mind how something so plainly everywhere can yet be so occulted and obfuscated, and just people are oblivious to it. It's amazing, truly. And
yeah.
it's a testament to the dark sorcerers that are, kind of keeping that veil.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the mind control, it really, really does a number on that. You control the availability of information, yet, and even if you can control or manipulate or influence individuals to not care to look into something, you're doing a number on society for sure. Because, I mean, when society stops thinking for themselves and stops seeking, then 100% you're going to be enslaved, and you're going to go down,
Yeah.
spiral down into the abyss of tyranny and oppression for sure.
Yeah, because what they've done is they've removed that curiosity of the human mind, and the desire to know, to interface with nature directly, have experiences, and discover what this realm is for ourselves, and then they've replaced that with dogma, programming, indoctrination, and that is what you're bumping up against when you try to have deeper conversations with people. You're sitting there with your own ideas, things you've observed, and sharing that, and you're just getting these NPC sound bites back at you, especially when you talk about the really important topics like anarchism or natural law, and things like this. You're just getting that programming back. It's none of it is their own original thinking, because that philosopher within them has been just like, you know like a surgically removed, you know.
Yep, for sure. And I would say, I mean, as far as history goes, the cultural religions had a huge play in destroying that the philosophical minded impulse in people. I mean, you look at in history like Alexandria, the great city of Alexandria, which was known for its philosophical attributes, with people from all around the area of all backgrounds and faiths and religions and different aspects coming together just to have these philosophical circles and debates. I mean, and then the Library of Alexandria gets burnt down. I mean, so the cultural religions, mainly Christianity, absolutely targeted these types of ways of thinking and peoples in general. So you can kind of see just over the years of that time that philosophy kind of goes underground, and that becomes what we know as the occult traditions, the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, the Hermetic orders, etc. So that esoteric philosophy really builds what we know as occultism. And then, of course, there's always going to be that exoteric, but it's highly controlled by these factions of the control system. But religion definitely extinguishes that spark in many, many people throughout history, because obviously they're stepping in to be the arbiter of truth and reality. So
there's there's something I want to bring, because I think it's an important point for even us great workers who are doing the hard work there, is I talk about philosophy with people and the meta aspect, there's a lot of resistance, and I think people are feeling like tackled out of the cube when you get them into that. It's a you can do it with class and beautiful language, but it's like you're punching them in the chest, because you make them realize that your life is based on a lie, that is based on a lie, that is based on a lie. And then people have to do this work, this introspection, to get back. And people loathe this, they hate to have to be confronted to themselves. And this is the base of philosophy.
mm-hmm.
So you have a hard resistance against that. People ridiculize it. They're gonna get angry. They're gonna get frustrated. And you have this thick wall of ignorance and anger. And this is a response from, like you said, guys. That's a cultural thing there. It's cultural indoctrination, and there's program into it, and there's sub programs, and there's subcultures, and then everything gets mixed up together. And I think this is where I circle back on discernment, because it's easy to get caught into a trap of spirituality or other kind of ideology you can get trapped into.
I think a big aspect of that resistance that you're speaking of, Fred, is it comes down to the implication when you go and try to yank the rug of indoctrination out from under people, that their fear and survival brain kicks in because they don't have anything to stand on.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is you're trying to push the self-responsibility back onto them of you're the only one responsible for your mind, what you believe of the world, and how you're acting in accordance to that. So when everything they do is based on programming and just these pre-ordained preordained ideas that were given to them about reality and how it operates, and then you're kind of mirroring to them, like, the personal responsibility of arriving at truth through your own experience, your own logic and reasoning, and showing that to them. I think that's the main thing that they're having that fear and like resistance towards, because I think that's the ultimate boogeyman for the uninitiated, is personal responsibility. That shit is like straight cancer to these people. Anything
Yeah.
but that.
Absolutely.
100%, man. Well said. Both you guys are touching on good points. Yeah, like what Leslie was talking about, right? I mean, healing, people are hurting, and healing is a big part of this, right? I mean, we're talking about philosophy, introspection, contemplation, starting internally and working on that internal environment, and also exploring what is happening in reality and healing. All of this kind of is the trifecta: our internal state, the external world, and the healing process itself. Like they all go together and they need to be worked on. When you say that to someone, it just seems like such a hard body of work and a great effort. They'd rather just check out or just stay comfortable in their folly. Which this is ultimately our goal. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to inspire these people to have self-love and self-respect and take a look again at themselves. So, I mean, this is part of the journey. But the going to, the aesthetics of it, of the one great work, is that we all have our own creative expression and style. It's like, what ways and what paths can you take to express this message? That is a beautiful thing in my aspect, because I mean, I like doing presentations. Logan makes great videos. Fred, you have great work. Like, we're all doing different stuff. There are endless possibilities on how to express a message. And this goes hand in hand with that introspection, because the only thing that's limiting oneself is oneself. So, I mean, kind of you just got to dive into it. And of course, that takes willpower and care. But the healing aspect is an ongoing process that needs to be embraced and first accepted, right? We have to accept that, okay, healing's involved, and am I actively doing it or not?
Yeah,
And this is, sorry, Logan. People, and I'm not talking about everyone there. Okay, there's people here who are listening to it. They're already doing the work, but for the other people, you have to make them realize that they have flaws and they're broken, and there's no gentle way to do it, actually. And I want to bring back projection there and psychology. So you have all the aspect of the relationship you have with yourself and the others, and this empathy that we need is very important. We have to be able to place ourselves into the situation of another person.
It's got to be relatable, for
like
sure.
like the three of us, we're trying to reach people. This is what we're trying to do, is share the information to the bigger mass we can. So I mean, I do it in French and I do it in English, and I mean, it's pretty much the same. People are very there's a percentage of the people will be open to this, but I mean, the language, how you use your words, what words you use, and in what situation, in what context, everything is important. There's no details that can be left aside in that. And this is one of the part of having this knowledge. It's a responsibility to be respectful, to be humble, and to carry this information and this knowledge and this wisdom with without using honor. It's humility and self-respect, because people will see it if you don't. People are not completely disjointed and broken.
Life will eventually expose you. And
Yep.
that could go both ways, right? I mean, patterns tell all. Real quick, that was a great riff, Fred. We have a question from Instagram. Degal number vibrationalist. Thanks for the great comments. He says, what is the true definition of philosophy? To me, it is simply pondering the nature of reality. That's asking the question. And
Pretty much.
yeah, simply put, absolutely that is.
Pondering, but also attempting to answer those ponderings, right? You're not just throwing questions out into the abyss. You're actually like hoping for an answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think
a question on its own is.
Yeah. I think there's
it's got to be a means to an end.
Wisdom and knowledge too behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why looking at the what philosophy means, Philosophia, right? The love of knowledge or wisdom, and Sophia, knowledge and wisdom, are synonymous in that definition, right? So the love for knowledge or wisdom, love like care, your attention, your desire, your will to know, and to knowledge or wisdom. Well, wisdom is the application of knowledge. So it's implying, yes, you're pondering, you're applying, you have the care to introspect on these big questions like self, the nature of reality and truth. But then there's almost an intention kind of hidden in there that because you have the love of wisdom, that you want to act on your findings. So you are applying what you have come to understand and know. That is wisdom right there. So for the love of knowledge and wisdom, it's a deep category. It's not focused on just empirical data or knowledge, right? Like, oh, I know how to bake a cake. I know how to do this really handy, or just ancillary bits of information. It's who are we? What are we doing here? What is nature? What is truth? What the fuck is going on? It's these big, meaningful, questions. The deepest questions, right? And that right alone is just, impactful, with the intention of, once you come to understand, whatever level that may be, and again, you might not know, you can't know the totality of all, but you can come to know knowledge and truth at certain levels. This is the journey of being a human being and striving for self-mastery. But once you come to understand those levels, what do you do with them? You have to apply them. If you don't, then you truly don't understand. You truly don't know, and that would be a waste. That would be a waste.
I want to add too, when you were saying like the importance of the deepest of all questions, right? It's hinting towards there is a hierarchical nature to knowledge and wisdom. Truth itself is truth. It is what it is. It's a unified what is. But our understanding of that is there are layers to that. And so when we say things like that's deep, what do we mean by that? Is that it's getting at something beyond just the face value. It's something that is more prevalent to the bigger picture of those very things that you mentioned, Will. Who we are, why are we here, that sort of thing. And when you are uncovering those truths, they're more profound because they're they're more pervasive, they're more prolific in their implications of the wider, just, you know, the state of being and operating. I also just because we were talking earlier about healing, and I just think it's so important to stress why truth and healing have to go in hand. This is something I really hammer on a lot. It's because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. It's often kind of one or the other. There's people that are very philosophical, and truth is everything and this and that, but they don't talk a lot about healing. Or the other way around, they're like it's all about crystals and self-love and all this kind of stuff, but they don't sit there and talk about like these important philosophical truths. But the reason that these are inextricably linked is because not only do they feed each other, but so like actively, truth is healing. To come to you have to accept it, and then you will be healed and transformed by the integration of those truths. On the other hand, healing is what allows you to do that, because if you're not healing, then you will simply reject those truths when you hear them, because they clash against your coping mechanisms. And that's the other side of it, is that's the active part of where you're trying to unfuck things. But the way that works, how it got there in the first place, is because some type of trauma, which take your pick, we're hit with from every angle in this trauma-based mind control structure. Those experiences distort our reality or our perceptions of reality. They give us these poisoned worldviews that are a reaction to something negative that happened, and then we walk around carrying those things, and then that's how people become bitter, for example, or very misanthropic, thinking humanity is just this cancer on the earth. And those worldviews are an external projection of that internal wounding that's not being dealt with. So you have to reverse that process, and that's why that dynamic works that way, because the truth will clash, will facilitate that healing, because it's going to heal and restore a true perspective of the world and ourselves, the internal and external worlds.
There's a good question from Leslie Powers. How do we help people realize that philosophy is not separate from their day-to-day reality? That's a good one.
Yeah. Great question. I'll actually answer this right off the bat, and this is kind of my style and my motto that I've been embracing and evolving, and that is simplify the profound. That's kind of my go-to motto, meaning that when exactly. When you know something, then you can explain it in many different ways. So when you're having a conversation with someone, or you're presenting information to a group of people, you can gauge that person or the party, and then you'll know kind of what angle to bring the information, the knowledge to, so that they can relate to it. So because their own perceived mental definition and, what their false axioms, what they think philosophy is, you have to break that first. And that kind of goes to, what Logan was saying about the dogmatic mind control and the mind viruses that they have in, every category of life. Philosophy is no different. So you explain something in a way that doesn't come off philosophical at some point, or you don't say the word philosophy, right? There's many different techniques and tactics, but that's why I wanted to kind of dive into these categories today as a brief overview, when you could do hours upon hours on each one of these categories. But to give an overview so that, yes, now philosophy is kind of getting trendy, but people are thinking deeply, but they're not thinking clearly. Because they're missing these categories, because they're missing the metaphysical causal realm and natural law principles and the foundational governing dynamics, they say deep shit, but they can't express it, right? So description is not explanation. They can't explain the deepness of what they're talking about because they can't think clearly, because there's a lack of knowledge and gnosis from these categories primarily.
And they're also missing some very important mental models, the operating system itself, right?
Yes.
That's what's doing the processing of information. So if you don't have that, then the output is still going to be either flawed or just incomplete in some way.
Yeah. Very excellent. Great point, man.
Natural law and animism are the biggest ones that are largely missing from people's operating system.
Oh yes.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Truth clears out the bullshit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have shadow work, and this is why we have to do it first.
I think it's important, though, to address the somatic and the mental when it comes to healing as well. You can't ignore one or the other. The mental is the truth clearing out the bullshit, but then there's also the bullshit that gets physically stored in the body, in the chakras and the meridians and the nervous system, that needs to be literally physically purged, whether it's through plant medicine or some type of energy work, Reiki, or something like that. You got to hit it from
100%.
every angle.
I mean,
this shit goes deep.
This is cause and effect. I mean, there's no separation between the mind and the body.
Right.
So if you get better in your head and you're neutral and you're not dominated by your emotions or the stress or anguish or anxiety, then you're gonna get into this neutral place there. And this is what I achieved through shadow working. This is what I refer to as stoicism. And I do not agree with everything that come from the stoicism, but I think there's tools there that can be very useful for this kind of work that we're doing, because we cannot think rationally when we're over emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a delicate balance between intelligence and madness.
Yeah, you brought up the Stoics, right? I mean, there's a lot of Stoicism that I love and I agree with, but kind of identifying as a Stoic can also put you in a place of passive awareness, right? Where you're just accepting shit as it comes, like, oh, it just came to me. I'm gonna. There's a lesson here, but I don't need to. It can be immorality. It can be something that is a violation, right? So there's net positive and negative points, even from these groups of philosophical thinkers as well. I think we can learn a great deal from all different types. And that's why I really wanted to mention that, esoteric philosophy is occultism, right? That's a huge part of it. I love that you brought up the somatic aspect, right? Because this is spirituality. Spirituality, it is not a separate domain. The physical and mental, the metaphysical and the physical are one system working together.
Mm-hmm. And who is the true philosopher, but one who is putting themselves in a box, and I'm this type, like I'm of this school of thought or this camp, or the one that listens to all of them and takes like a buffet. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that is such a more healthy aspect, is like not putting yourself in those categories of like going all the way into one thing, but just listening to the full spectrum of ideas and exploring them each individually at face value, but not just accepting it because it comes in this package of like, oh, I'm a Stoic, so I'm all these things, and kind of just taking that on.
Yep, dude, absolutely, absolutely.
Fred, I believe you're muted.
This is a good point. I agree with you 100% on that. And this is already what I'm doing. I'm not putting myself into categories or
It's like the
boxes.
syncretist. It's the same kind of concept.
Yeah,
Or
and
omnism.
I think the objectivity is the word that come from stoicism, and not being not mixing emotional things, and when you talk about this very world that we're living in, and having this posed, calm, humble perception of these things, and we still at this point are swimming against the river.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of fish who are following the river, so we have to go and get through our own shit, and then help people get through their own shit.
I
So
love this
it's not an
comment.
easy task as
Yeah.
such.
I love this comment from Leslie, because she's saying the body can be healed through the mental processes, because like I just said, we're talking about the nervous system. That is the system of nerves that goes all throughout your body, but what do they all lead back to? The brain.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yep.
is the connective tissue between the mental and physical realms of the being.
That's an
Exactly.
awesome conversation, by the way. Thank you, Will, to make this happen.
Oh man,
Mhm.
I,
I
I
like
love it.
that very
I'm glad
much.
you guys coming on to participate. I think
Having
we got about 10 more minutes. So I'm
having a
giving
philosophical conversation about philosophy, like how's that for meta?
Yeah, right? Exactly. Exactly. So if anybody in the chats, again, thank you all for tuning in and joining. If you guys have any questions, we'll go for about 10 to 15 more minutes. That's my letting my One Great Work Network producer know.
Mhm.
15-minute countdown.
So I want to take the time and express my gratitude for all the people who are working their ass off to put this out. And not only Will, not only Logan or me, there's a bunch of awesome people who are giving their time and sacrificing for putting this information out. And I mean, there's many names that I can name, but essentially, I want to thank you, everyone. And I know there's newcomers. I stumble upon one of them, and I'm proud to see that there's newcomers in this movement and this network. It's very encouraging, and there's a beautiful response from a percentage of the people. It's not a lot, but I mean, we take everything. It's so crucial. It's so important that we need to repeat that. Like I understand Mark Passio when he's getting pissed because he's tired of repeating, but essentially it's really that, you know. We people need to fucking take it in, understanding, comprehension, and that's the thing. I think this is the part where people get stuck, and they're pushing themselves too hard, you know. I want to be the greatest part of myself, but essentially you're limited by your perceptions and your understanding. So it's very important to be very uh, um wary of your own flaws, and and you cannot get rid of them, you know. It's like your demons. You cannot get rid of your demons, but you can you can strike a deal with these demons. You can
Mhm.
deal with them. You can control and tame them and use it as
Integrate.
tool.
I'm gonna have to get out of here. Awesome conversation. Much love to both of you, and keep up the awesome work.
Excellent.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
my
Bye,
brother.
Logan.
Logan Hart, thewizardfactory.com. Yeah, well said, Fred. Absolutely. This is a great time because, especially with the last 3 years, I mean, great as in opportunity. Great. That's what I mean. There are people seeking for answers and for information. It's just about activating and getting your content, your message out there for the eyes and ears. And I'm seeing new people do this on a regular basis, which is fantastic. There's nothing better for the work that I'm doing when I see someone start to talk about natural law, objective morality, and the belief in human authority. These crucial topics, it's fantastic. It's motivating. It's inspiring. So, thank you to everyone that is stepping up and activating, and those that want to activate. These presentations are for you to try to inspire you to start. And this is what I meant by this is a great time, because this is a great time to start for sure. That opportunity is there. And the work you're doing, Fred, too, is fantastic, man. I appreciate you. And any closing comments?
Yes, sure. Thank you again, by the way, Will, for this presentation, this awesome presentation. I'm gonna share it far and wide, and this is what people should do right now. The people who will listen in later, just share it. Share this stuff. Go on the One on Earth is onegreatworknetwork.com. Go discover them and go share this awesome stuff. This kind of conversation, they're gold. So this is what we need. This is what we need to push. And for the I don't remember how much time I said it. Don't wait. Do it now. You have all the tools. It's free. They're massively free. There's freeware that you can use. The information is for free on the internet. You're interested in astrology or tarot or psychology or philosophy, it's all free. There's no justification for not looking into it. You want to get better, don't wait for someone to give you the answer. Find it yourself. And then when you understood natural law and morality and philosophy, and afterward you can try to teach it. If you can teach it, if you really understand something, you can teach it. It's like reading and writing, and counting. It's the same thing. So don't wait, get involved right now, right fucking now. This is when we need it. It's now.
Absolutely, man. We have to break that inertia and just start that momentum. So Well said. Great comments. Fred, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for jumping on, man. I always appreciate it. And thank you for your work that you're doing. Everyone go check out the Libercast on Facebook. Fantastic content and conversations that Fred's having. So I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, and thank you again. Thank you, people. See you soon.
Have a good night.
Bye.
It's been a hell of a night, everyone. I appreciate you all for joining. I'm going to read a passage from the great philosopher Manly P. Hall to close us up for the night. And it starts like this. By philosophy, we can live wisely and die well. The philosopher is unconquerable. The imperishable intellect survives every destruction. The philosopher is in the vanguard of progress. Those who perfect themselves in wisdom are called the twice born. For by wisdom man is given a new birth. He departs from an old life with its uncertainties and limitations into a new illuminated existence. Pythagoras referred to the philosopher as the deathless soul. The world we live in today is ruled by fear, fear of life and fear of death. Wisdom alone can overcome fear. Love rules the sphere of the wise. Those who have learned to love life in its deepest and most mystical sense have escaped from bondage of fear and dwell in peace with all things. Manly Palmer Hall. Short little passage that I really liked. And, you know, Manly P. Hall, being from that philosophical and that realm of occultism, highly recommend his work. People check that out. And even that passage, there's, you know, occulted coding within there, right? Twice born, like someone has to kind of understand what that means. Death, the soulless one. I mean, not the soulless one. The what do you say exactly? The deathless soul. So it's fantastic analogies that he is using and allegories as well. And this is what the philosopher strives for. Strives to be wise. And when you are wise, that means you are in harmony with nature. You are aligning your perception to the truth, to morality and right action. And that's my inspiration for myself to aspire towards, and to inspire you all to take moral right action. So I appreciate you all for joining in this presentation. And my website, willkeller.com. You can go there, check out my other presentations and my other work. And I'm going to be back in 2 weeks on the 21st for another brand new presentation and an open discussion. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Feel free to contact me and shoot me a message via my website. And thanks to my producer, Aaron Butler, on the One Great Work Network. Go check out my content there and all the other great content creators on the One Great Work Network. And you guys have a great evening. So appreciate you all. Have a good one.